What if I told you that at the heart of the academic study of conspiracy theory, there exists a conspiracy to suppress an awkward truth? Welcome to Conspiracism. The fact you've chanced upon this video probably means that your feed is filled to the brim with conspiratorial content, or is going to be thanks to algorithms. From arguments that the earth is flat to the claimed Sargon of Akkad and Stephen Molyneux are actually clever, conspiracy theories are everywhere. Maybe you were watching a 9/11 inside job video before you got here, or perhaps it was something on Big Pharma covering up the shocking truth that water has memory. Whatever the case, welcome. My name is Em, and if you'll let me, we're going to talk about conspiracy theories from an academic perspective. Now, you probably don't know me, and why would you? I'm just an itinerant academic located in Aotearoa, New Zealand, who is strangely popular in both Latvia and Romania. I received my PhD from the University of Auckland. That was back in the seemingly more sensible year of 2012, when chuckling over racist theories about a president's birth certificate was considered to be the height of conspiratorial politicking, or at least at the time, so it seemed. I also happened to be one of the leading experts on conspiracy theory and philosophy. However, given philosophy is considered a pointless subject by most people, that isn't really saying much. I mean, I've written books on the topic, published numerous papers, given keynotes and all that jazz, but that means nothing outside of the small section of the academy that I happen to inhabit. I'm an epistemologist, someone who studies epistemology, the philosophical study of knowledge. Epistemologists study both what is knowledge and how it is we either know so much or why it is we know so little. Epistemologists who study conspiracy theory tend to be interested in both what conspiracy theories are and when belief in conspiracy theories is ever rational. Epistemologists tend to be interested in the intersection of evidence and belief. And the thing is, most philosophers who study conspiracy theory, with rare exception, think that there's nothing inherently wrong with belief in conspiracy theories or conspiracy theorizing, which you might think is a weird thing for an academic to believe. After all, think of Alex Jones and those FEMA death camps, David Icke with his shape-shifting alien lizards, or Donald J. Trump and the fake media. They promote ludicrous conspiracy theories which seem to be an increasing problem in contemporary debate. How can someone defend that kind of thing? I mean, aren't conspiracy theorists on the face of it deeply weird people? Aren't most conspiracy theories just nonsense? Well, it's actually quite complicated. After all, you can't spend years working on a topic like this if the subject doesn't turn out to be trickier than most people think. Now, I know from my various inboxes and social media accounts that certain people, often pejoratively called conspiracy theorists, think there is a conspiracy amongst academics like myself to make conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists seem mad, bad, and dangerous. And that's an understandable reaction to the kind of work we do. We do keep telling people conspiracy theories are a problem, and that we need to be on our guard against them. We portray conspiracy theorists as tinfoil hat wearing weirdos with no social life and bad hygiene. So for people who believe conspiracy theories, you can understand why they think there is a concerted effort by academics like myself to cast shade on their theories and their theorizing, which is a bit of a problem when you start to think about it. Take 9/11. No matter what you think about what happened in New York and Washington, D.C. on September the 11th, 2001, you believe some account of the event which says it was the result of a conspiracy. Maybe you think it was an inside job committed by Bush and his friends, or it was a deep state plot designed to justify a war in the Middle East. That's a conspiracy theory. Or maybe you think it was a secret plan hatched and committed by agents of a terrorist organization known as Al-Qaeda. That's also a theory about a conspiracy. It involves multiple people working in secret towards some end. If that isn't conspiratorial, then really, what is? Just because we happen to label that theory as being official, that doesn't stop it from being a theory about a conspiracy. It just means many people think it's the best theory we have. Indeed, in the minutes and hours after the events in New York and Washington DC, when it still wasn't clear who was going to take responsibility for the attack, all we had were conspiracy theories about 9/11. Or, if you're uncomfortable with awkward truths about recent history, how about Soviet Russia? In the 1930s, Joseph Stalin was convinced that his old ally turned exiled enemy Leon Trotsky was plotting to return to Russia to take over. Stalin asked his agents to find evidence of Trotsky's plot. When they came back to him and said, "We got nothing," Stalin was not amused. He had, after all, told them to find the evidence, and they'd come back to him empty-handed. So he sent them off again, and find evidence they did, via the wonderful mechanism of fakery. Stalin's agents created an evidence trail, and convinced people to testify about a non-existent plot, all in order to create the illusion of a conspiracy by Trotsky and his cronies. This culminated in a set of trials in the mid-30s, which were meant to show that Stalin wasn't a paranoid wreck, because his enemies really were plotting against him. However, not everyone was convinced. John Dewey, someone we'll talk about in another episode, suspected that the trials were a sham. He formed the eloquently named and not at all wordy Commission of Inquiry into the charges made against Leon Trotsky in the Moscow trials. The commission showed that the evidence used in the trials was inconsistent at best and very likely the product of fakery. Dewey and his chums presented the commission's report to the governments of the UK and the US, who both thought they would do the responsible thing. They asked the Kremlin if these allegations were true. The Soviet response was to claim Dewey and company were just spreading disinformation, a word recently coined by Stalin's agents to hide the existence of their conspiracy. It wasn't until after Stalin's death, nearly 2 decades later, that the truth came out. That is, what had been considered just a silly conspiracy theory turned out to be warranted. Now, I could go on and on and on and talk about Elizabethan plots, the Gulf of Tonkin affair, the dodgy dossier and the like. The thing is, conspiracies occur, and sometimes theories about those conspiracies turn out to be true. Now, this isn't tinfoil hattery. Respectable historians like Catherine S. Olmsted have written books about the role of conspiracy in the 20th century, US politics and the like. Yet many academics who study conspiracy theory either ignore or just pay lip service to these inconvenient truths. Yes, they will say there are examples which break the rule about conspiracy theories being bunk, but generally we're right to be suspicious. Yet, as philosopher Charles R. Picton has noted, if you are politically or historically literate, then you have to be a conspiracy theorist. Either you believe the almost daily reports in the news about conspiracies big and small, or you think such news is fake, and thus there is a conspiracy to hide what is really happening. Either way, you accept that conspiracies occur and are thus a conspiracy theorist. So why the constant dismissal? Well, it's all about the theory of conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory is the name of a particular phenomenon. Conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorizing. Those of us who study conspiracy theory are, as I coined the term back in my PhD, conspiracy theory theorists. Theorists about conspiracy theories who engage in conspiracy theory. Now, theory is an actual thing which philosophers are really quite into. Theorizing about theories is an almost quintessentially philosophical topic after all. Theory roughly concerns how theories work, what theoretical changes, and how theories fit together. The thing is, once you start thinking about how theories work, you start to realize some interesting things about theories generally. For example, it allows you to explain why experts in a field sometimes disagree despite given the same evidence. That's because sometimes people disagree because of a difference of opinion as to what counts as the proper evidence. Let's talk about something really uncontroversial, say like climate change, a topic that certainly doesn't cause people to get outraged on the internet. Now, it's certainly true that almost every climate scientist agrees anthropogenic climate change is occurring, and it's also almost certainly true that there are many climate scientists who disagree as to the extent of that change, how fast that change is, and whether or not I've used the word "that" too often in this sentence. Those disagreements are in part the result of climate scientists coming from a variety of different scientific fields. Due to their different training and background, some climate scientists have different ideas as to how best to model that complex thing called the climate, and thus what the most important factors to consider in that model are. Thus, some of the disagreement between climate scientists about the extent and speed of climate change is a result of their different training or backgrounds. Although sometimes it's because they're in the pay of big business. But we're getting ahead of ourselves now, aren't we? Disagreements then can sometimes be not about evidence, but about theories. This is because theories decide what gets counted as evidence. If your theoretical model of the world denies the existence of, say, supernatural phenomena, then any purported evidence of ghosts, boglins, or gods will have to be explained away in more material terms. Depending on your theoretical assumptions about the world, you end up interpreting certain data as evidence or not evidence according to those theories. This, of course, applies to conspiracy theory as well. There are a lot of conspiracy theorists out there, and we're all different. The conspiracy theorist community includes philosophers like myself, sociologists, psychologists, political scientists, cultural theorists, American studies experts, journalists, and more. Due to our various backgrounds, there's considerable disagreement as to just how we go about starting to study conspiracy theory, and as we'll discuss in another video, just what these things called conspiracy theories actually are. As we all start with different theoretical backgrounds and assumptions, it's kind of predictable that we all approach the topic differently. Philosophers, for example, tend to be interested in arguments, psychologists in belief models, sociologists in cultural factors, and so forth. Our different fields of interest inform how we go on to theorize about conspiracy theory. Which is to say, there's a lot of theoretical assumptions in conspiracy theory, and these assumptions drive much of the work we conspiracy theorists do. So there probably isn't a conspiracy by conspiracy theorists to downplay the existence of conspiracies, or to make conspiracy theorists look weird. Rather, it's to say that there's a lot of theoretical work underpinning our judgment of conspiracy theories going on in the conspiracy theory literature, and much of it is unexamined. Now I think it's about time we talked about that theoretical work. If conspiracy theories really are a problem, then it's important to explain why exactly that might be. And if it turns out conspiracy theorizing is justified in a range of cases, talking about why that would be the case seems really important too. So whether you think alien shape-shifting reptiles rule the world, or you think the last word on conspiracy theory is the Skeptoid podcast, please do join me as we get into the nitty-gritty of what academics like myself say and believe about conspiracy theory, as well as doing some deep dives into theories you love, those you hate, and those you have never heard of. Be seeing you.